Good evening, Ride Warriors, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news out of Valencia, California, where Six Flags Magic Mountain this morning, or actually last night,
it was this morning by the time they got to it.
Yeah, by the time they got to it, it was this morning, announced West Coast Racers, a collaboration between Six Flags Premier Rides and West Coast Customs that you may know from popular TV shows and critically acclaimed TV shows like Pimp My Ride. So this, Danny, kind of a surprise here, I think, with West Coast Racers. We kind of knew they were going to do like a racing style launch coaster. A lot of speculation going around in the wee, hours of the morning. And I think Premier was not a company that a lot of people were expecting to see when this ride was announced.
Not until the very end.
Yeah, some of my takeaways first, something that will irritate you, but definitely on those POVs, they have the comfort collars all over this thing. Every single ride, every single seat, which is a little surprising because Discovery Kingdom doesn't have them on their Superman.
Full Throttle doesn't have them either.
They're
very clearly on this ride.
Yeah, the Busch Parks all have them. So I don't know if this is an issue of them not wanting to change their animation style and they're not going to be there, or if we can just assume that they are going to be there. It is California, so but Discover. I don't know. The comfort collars are there. That's something to think about. I thought that the comfort collars on the Skyrockets greatly hindered the ride experience from Tempesto to Superman. I really love Superman this summer without the comfort collars. I thought it was awesome. So we'll see what happens there. And also, I think this ride, a lot of people raving about this ride, and I'm not so sure if that's justified at this point. I'm not impressed by the stats here. The world's first quadruple launch, except for the one in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's not the first quadruple launch.
And actually, if you watch the POV of the one at Ferrari World, it's pretty much like very similar with the crossovers.
It's basically the same thing, and it's much longer.
Yeah, like this one is a little bit more intense with inversions and all that, but that one kind of just does like crossovers. So not the first quadruple launch. A little confused by that. This one has like the interactive elements, much like another ride in the park called Twisted Colossus. So I'm just overly confused.
It's like, hold on a minute. So they're the first park in the world to have two coasters with a high five element. It's like when they put in Green Lantern and it was like fourth dimension coaster. We got 2 in 1 park.
Well, but here's the thing. Like to me, like X2 and Green Lantern are two completely different rides. Like
which they are.
To me, this is the equivalent with Twisted Colossus and West Coast Racers. This is the equivalent of putting in a Joker Free Fly next to Green Lantern.
Twisted Colossus and Full Throttle had a baby, and this is what it is.
It's like the love child of those two rides. Like you get the launches, and the other thing that really concerns me is the launches are only 55 miles an hour. That's like Flight of Fear launches. Now, the Flight of Fear launches aren't bad launches.
That's below the speed limit in California.
Well, but the Flight of Fear doesn't have a bad launch, but it's not a launch I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing launch. I need to go ride that. So I don't know. I'm not sold on this ride at all, and I'm especially not sold because you're like, I remember talking to you like last night or the night before, and you're like, well, if you have the launches, and even if it has like these interactive elements like Twisted Colossus does, at least you don't have the lift hill in the middle.
But they found a way to put that in there too.
They found a way to get that there too, that you're going to have a station with a garage that you're going to look into the West Coast Customs garage,
and
which I'm assuming
like a pit stop.
I'm assuming some kind of video presentation, because you're going to have to wait for that other train to be ready to load. So like there's 3 trains, so one's coming in, one should be ready, but we know that's not always going to work because it doesn't always work on Twisted Colossus that as easily as you think it would. Same theory. So, Danny, there is a whole lot I don't understand here. about why people are so excited. I think it looks like a pretty good ride. Once again, I don't think it looks amazing. I don't think this is a world beater. And Danny, let me say it here. This ride would be a lot more impressive if it was at any other park in the world.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's probably about three parks, and there's probably about there's 2 parks in the United States that immediately come to mind where this would not be one of the headlining attractions. One is Cedar Point, and the other is Six Flags Magic Mountain.
And the third part that this doesn't make sense in is Ferrari World Abu Dhabi.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So if this was at Six Flags Great Adventure, I think you're looking at something, because, they got rid of Chiller. They used to have something like this. I think then, if this was at Over Texas.
The best ride in the park?
Yeah. I mean, St. Louis, Over Texas hasn't gotten a real roller coaster in a while.
Over Texas, this would have been amazing at Over Texas.
Yeah. I mean, and then... But, and this is, I had there were people getting into it on Twitter with me last night after the announcement. When you've put in rides like X2, like Tatsu, like Twisted Colossus, and you've got the supporting cast of rides like Riddler's Revenge and even Apocalypse.
In Full Throttle.
And, yeah, and Full Throttle and Goliath, Six Flags Magic Mountain. And with the drop rides too. I mean, like Lex Luthor, they made Lex Luthor. They made a big deal about that. They're all about, and now Crazanity, this largest pendulum ride, which we're getting 12 of them this year that are the exact same.
If you like that, you'll love it at every other Six Flags.
Yeah. So, and I don't have a problem with those rides. They're fun. They're fine. Great. But Six Flags Magic Mountain has created itself this standard.
Well, they keep calling themselves the thrill
capital of the world. This, to me, I don't even know if this is going to be one of their 5 best coasters. I mean, to me, X2, Twisted Colossus, and Tatsu, I think in whatever order you want, I think those are your top 3. And then after that, I mean, you could throw Apocalypse in there. You could throw Goliath in there. Some people would throw Riddler in there. I mean, maybe some people would throw Scream in there. Full Throttle, I think, is definitely one in the discussion for 4th.
Here's my problem, that you've built this park, that this park used to be built on the idea that we're going to break, just like Cedar Point, that there's always been the Cedar Point Magic Mountain, debate. And this park was built on, we're going to break records, we're going to innovate. You got Tatsu, that's a record breaker. You got X2, that's innovative. You have Riddler, which was a record breaker. You have all these rides that do these great things. And now we come to your 20th roller coaster, and you get one that people are like, what? Like, that looks like 2 other rides you got in the park?
Well, and someone else said I forget exactly what they said, but they said a 55-mile-per-hour racing coaster isn't exciting to you. And I said, in 1978, Cedar Point built Gemini, which goes 60 miles per hour. So,
and it races and has interactive elements. It doesn't invert, I guess, but
yeah.
It doesn't have a quadruple launch.
So, I mean, and then if you want something with dueling elements, I mean, Dueling Dragons, may it rest in peace. I mean, 1999. So it's not like we're really going outside of the box here. I mean, people are making this seem like it's something out of this world.
And the sad part is I don't think this in itself is a bad ride. I don't. I think it's a really good ride. It's a bad ride for Magic Mountain. That's my thesis.
It's a good ride at the wrong park.
It's a good ride in the exact wrong place. Like I said, you could put this in any other park besides Cedar Point. And even at Cedar Point, it would be unique. It would be different. I don't think it fits well in their collection. But you put it at any other Six Flags park, and this is a lot more exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you put this ride at Cedar Point, I think it has some uniqueness to it. At least it doesn't even – the uniqueness that it has in itself is lost at Six Flags Magic Mountain because everything about this ride is done something else. One of the Twitter – someone was trying to make it's not a mediocre ride. Not every single coaster has to be the biggest, craziest, or the fastest. absolutely agree.
True.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
True, but I do require it to be different than other rides in your park.
Right, and he said it's cool having a fun small roller coaster that'll add something different to the park. And I said, I might agree with you if you can explain to me what's different about this ride. So their 5 points were, it's not an RMC. I said they have 18 other non-RMCs.
Yeah.
They said it has 4 launches. I said I'll ride Full Throttle twice, or whatever. It's themed to a different IP other than generic or DC Comics. What's the third option? Everything's generic or DC at that park. But besides, I think it's a shitty IP because, I'm not a huge TV guy, but I never heard of them before. It has 2 cars with 6 seats instead of 6 cars with 4 seats. Okay, so it's got worse capacity. Okay, so you've proven that. And he says, last point, it stays low to the ground. I said, so do the go-karts and Gold Rusher. So, you know what? It's like, you failed to convince me that it's different than everything else.
And let me say some other stuff, too. That looking at this animation, like that double launch off, like that first double launch looks like to be like a signature element on this ride. And like every other launch coaster in the world, like you usually have people be able to film it, like Dragster, get right up next to the gate, Storm Runner, get right up there.
Oh no, it's behind buildings.
Not this one. It's behind a building and it's behind the queue line, according to the pictures that we see. What? Like you're not even like selling this ride the way that it should be. Like you're selling this West Coast Customs, which is cool, but we know how well Six Flags does with IPs. So what are you going to call this ride in 3 years? And
Launchpocalypse.
Launchpocalypse. And what video are you going to play in there? Like, that's what I want to know.
I don't know. And again, we're dumping on this ride pretty heavily here, but I think we're trying to make up for all the praise it's getting, because at the end of the day, it's
a good ride and a bad.
It looks like a really fun ride and a good ride at the wrong park.
Let me tell you, Danny, that I'm not buying a ticket to Magic Mountain to go ride this.
I'm hopping on a plane tomorrow night to fly to Southern California. I will be at Six Flags Magic Mountain this weekend, and I am not at all upset that this is coming next year, and I don't plan to return next year. My cadence has been, this will be my 3rd time there. I've gone every 3 years, 2012, 2015, 2018. I don't know if I'll be back before 2021, and I don't know that I care.
Yeah, my position on this is I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, there is nothing that's calling me out to Magic Mountain.
Well, and another good point. I like
the Max Force announcement and the launch, 0 to 78 in 2.5 seconds. As much as I think Great America has done a great job with hyping up this ride, with hyping up Max Force, with hyping up everything. To the same extent, that's how bad of a job that I think Magic Mountain has done with the hype train and with the overall announcement here. Like, even the video last night, I felt like it's people who want to party with these West Coast Custom people more than announce a roller coaster.
They talked about the coaster for about 2 minutes, and they're talking about how West Coast Customs is designing the cars or whatever. Well, it's the Premier trains if you look closely, and it's just got the car nose on the front. Really?
Yeah.
So how long until those are wrapped in Twix and Takis ads? That's one thing. There was one other thing I wanted to say here. I can't remember what it was now. I need to think of this. Say something else bad about this ride. So I get.
Well, it's hard to. I will say that they also did not talk about Adrenaline Alley. Like, when I heard this, I'm like, oh, they're going to theme it to Adrenaline Alley. They did say that the go-karts and the area would be getting like a new look at things, but they didn't really go into what that meant. So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm nonplussed about this. It's like I said. It looks like a good ride. I don't care for it at Magic Mountain at all. I think it's up there with in the history of bad decisions. This is up there with like maybe some of the best of them. Like I don't know if it's SeaWorld quality bad decisions, but
no,
it's not going to tank your park, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I'm looking at it last night. I'm watching it. And I'm like, why? Why are they doing this? It looks like Twisted Colossus. Like, are you saying that Twisted Colossus doesn't work?
Yeah, I mean, there's There's enough to like about this ride, but I don't think
people are going to criticize me and say, well, you know, if it's a good ride somewhere else, why isn't it a good ride here? It's because I don't want to wait in another line.
And those are the same people who are saying they should move Rougarou to Michigan's Adventure because it would be an amazing ride there, yet it's mediocre at Cedar Point. Those are the same people that are saying that kind of shit.
And also the same people praising this ride are criticizing Copperhead Strike for having slow launches.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it depends on what order you're going to post these in. But if you watch the Copperhead Strike video, we made a point of, if you're criticizing the slow speed and launch of that ride, this is only 5 miles per hour faster. So if you're complaining about that ride, you sure as hell better be complaining about this ride, because it does the same thing where it hits the second launch at 30 miles per hour or whatever, and then goes back up to the top speed. It does the same exact thing.
If you said to me this thing was going to launch at like 70, 75, if this was going to have like a Max Force style launch on it, then I might be a little more excited. But that's not what this is. This is, you know, I'm going to look up Twisted Colossus and finding a top speed for that, because if it says 55, I'm gonna just stop talking. 57. Twisted Colossus is faster. That's the first big hill.
And then what's Full Throttle? Like 70 something?
Full Throttle. Ugh. Full Throttle is 70. So you're going to get a better launch on a ride you built 5 years ago.
So, and what are the, hold on. What are the Skyrocket 2s? Now, I know those go back and forth or whatever, but those are 60, Phobia is 62.
Like, I don't understand why this is so slow, too. Like, is this supposed to be a family coaster? Because, I don't know, like, you're in Storm Chaser territory here, buddy.
Well, yeah, and some people are like, oh, well, this will be a good ride for the families. And it's like, that's why it doesn't belong at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Yeah. Because Six Flags Magic Mountain...
We have enough of those.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm done. I can't talk anymore.
They have, like, 6 kiddie coasters or whatever. And then you've got the Mine Train. I mean, you could argue...
For me, this solidifies that this officially ends the debate for me on which park is better, Cedar Point or Magic Mountain. Cedar Point puts in the best steel coaster in the world. Magic Mountain clones something they already got. Debate over. And you can call me a Cedar Point fanboy, because I know that's what you're typing right now. I already know. Oh, you were on PO, and now I just called you out on it. Don't bother, okay?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just so...
It's stupid.
I was hoping for so much more out of this. I mean, we were hearing that this was going to be the Six Flags headliner, that this was going to be a supersized version of what Great America was doing, and it's not even close. I make the argument all day long that Great America is probably going to be putting in the better roller coaster.
Absolutely. I don't think that's even a question. At a minute, at a third of the time, Great America's is going to pack a punch.
What rides has Premier done that people are dying to go ride? Because they've done the Spaghetti Bowls. They've done the Skyrocket 2s. I would argue Full Throttle. What's that?
Mr. Freeze and Full Throttle, they're two most talked about rides.
I would argue that let's see here. Premier rides. Let's look at all. They've built 32 roller coasters here.
And let me be clear. Premier has filled a niche for the industry, I think, of this style of ride. But it's not a world beater style of ride. It's not. Like,
right, my issue is not with Premier Rides here. My issue is what, you know, I think Premier Rides would be a great company to do something a lot bigger than this. They've proven that they can do a lot bigger than this. They did Full Throttle at the same park, which is much, much bigger. And if you did a Full Throttle sized version of this ride, but that's the type of money that Six Flags has shown in the last 5 to 6 years that they are not going to spend.
But I don't know how much this is going to cost them. This looks like a pricey ride from the partnership with West Coast Customs. Like, I gotta imagine that they're paying them some money to do this. Like, from the quadruple launch, that's gonna cost money. I know it's not that far off the ground. It's low to the ground to save on steel, but I don't feel like this is like a $10 million ride. I feel like this is gonna be in the one of the pricier rides that Six Flags has done in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I would argue? I would say my argument for the best premier rides coasters that I've been on, I would say you're either looking at Full Throttle or Revenge of the Mummy. I think those are.
Yeah, but that's a hard one to even compare. Like that.
No, it is, but I don't know that this ride is going to be better than either of those things.
Yeah. I don't know.
And to me, for Six Flags Magic Mountain, and this is the last point I wanted to say, I just thought of it, is the only thing done correctly with all this, the only thing that I agree with of all of this, is that they did very little to hype it up. Because I don't know that this ride deserves the type of hype that Six Flags Great America gave Max Force. And I'm okay with how little hype they gave to it. Yeah. But I think the hype actually matches the ride. I don't think the reaction matches the ride. Again, good ride, solid ride, going to be a fun ride. Six Flags Magic Mountain, I think, based on the reputation they have tried to establish for themselves, needs to be held to a higher standard than this as the
if you want to be the thrill capital of the world, this is not what they do at the thrill capital of the world. I'm sorry.
You need to go big as their things as their tagline says. And this is they didn't go big on this. They went let's kind of just combine two rides we already have.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. So, as always, thanks for joining us.
Tell us how you really feel.
Thanks for joining us here on COASTER-net Update. I'm, of course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
See you next time, guys.